Hello, everybody. You're welcome back again to our our summit, The Spiritually Fulfilled Woman, all about tapping into our inner peace that brings in our happiness, our freedom, and just that peace of mind becoming our reality. And yes, my name is Patricia Daly. I'm a personal transformation coach, your host for the event, and really excited to bring to you internationally recognized Reverend Lorraine Cohen. You're very welcome, Lorraine.
I'm thrilled to be with you.
Delighted to have you. So everyone listening, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about Lorraine. Just very briefly, I know there's more in the email that has been sent out, but Reverend Lorraine Cohen is internationally recognized for soul power coaching, quantum energy healing, and intuitive readings. She uses her highly attuned spiritual and healing gifts to support conscious women to dive deeply into self-love, to transform past emotional wounds into wisdom, compassion, and power. A fierce advocate for her clients' transformation, she guides them to restore their authentic power, inherent worth, and true nature to manifest their deepest fulfilling dreams in alliance with their soul calling. So the theme for this interview is clearing blocks to your health, wealth, and purpose. So Lorraine, can you share with us the keys to living a healthy and abundant life?
You know, I've always felt that one of the most important things to really prosper, to live the life that we've come here to live, is we have to really get to know who we are. And that requires being willing to turn your attention inward and get to know what makes you tick, get to know yourself, your gifts, your talents, where your blocks are, the things that you're holding on to that keep you in separation from your true self, because we are spiritual beings in a physical body. And so it's a dance between, see, my cat is coming, the balance of our our human self, our spiritual self, as well as we are at an incredible time in history where the divine feminine energies are coming through so strongly to lead the way. So it's additionally a balance between our masculine and our feminine energies. And to do that, we are digging really, really deep into some of the shadow places where we've been holding on to a lot of beliefs and patterns and programs and traumas from this life and past life and through our ancestry, so that we can line up with the ways that the energies are shifting on the planet right now, that is helping us to step into living our lives with much more joy, much more ease, much more prosperity, in alliance with our divine soul path. So to me, the keys are making that a priority and investing in you, your self-care, investing in having a strong internal foundation, which is fundamental, that to me is based on your capacity to love yourself, living from a place of integrity and authenticity, leading from spirit rather than ego, and using your human self for the practical applications of life. And people are feeling turned upside down right now because everything is shifting, and what was working before isn't working now. And so it's a time for massive shifts, as long as you are working from the inside out and have that strong foundation in order to navigate these periods.
That's fantastic. That's beautiful. Also, I want to ask how the impact of those long-held emotions like anger, guilt, and resentment are actually making people sick.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, 3 decades ago, for people who are familiar with Louise Hay, who was diagnosed with cancer in the 1980s, and she, in her own journey as a pioneer, made the connection between the mental thoughts that we have and the emotions that, when held over a period of time, become the breeding ground for festering for things like illness and chronic pain and cancer to evolve. So often I see people who are dealing with more and more physical ailments. I myself have shared in 2012, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and have had 4 breast cancer diagnoses. And as a result of that, of course, with my own work that I've done with clients for 30 plus years, doing that deep inner work, the inner child work, the inner healing work, self-love, connection with their own source authority, that it made sense for me. Sometimes we teach what we most need to learn, and so in order to do that, in order to really be a guide for others, you have to travel the terrain. And so I like to be thorough, I guess. And, it's been an opportunity for me to really be up close and personal to see how devastating, if you will, emotions can be to impact the quality of our health. And when you think of health as just being physical, I look at it as the mental health, how we feel mentally, our emotional health, how connected we are to our feeling of joy and love and center, and our spiritual health, the connection that we have to our own inner divinity. And when all of those parts are in harmony, the quality of our life increases, and we are able to experience the things that we want most. So what she discovered was that long-held feelings of resentment and guilt and anger, and for me it was really more rage and unforgiveness, how that I repeatedly find when I'm working with clients who are dealing with physical ailments, which I believe is that we're going to see more and more of people coming down with ailments. I'm sorry to say that, but I really feel that's true because of the density of those emotions and the power of those emotions to make us sick. So the more that we're willing to look inside and to start to clear some of those issues, which is so related to forgiveness and unforgiveness and judgments, the more that they're willing to roll up our sleeves courageously and lovingly to look at some of what we're holding, the more that we can free our bodies from using that energy to create illness and to create pain.
Yeah.
It's a gutsy journey.
I like the way you say roll up our sleeves, because it's hard work. Maybe hard work's the wrong word, but it's digging deep and we have to keep at it. It's no good saying we're going to do it and thinking it's an easy job.
Well, what I would also add to it is that it's important to look at our lives as a continual spiral. So often I hear people say, I thought I was done with that. And we do ourselves a disservice when we approach it that way, because the reality is that there is no done, so to speak, that we are continually expanding and evolving. And when you think of some of the things that we're holding on to have been layered upon layered upon layered and can be buried so deep, and some of it may be what was passed on through our ancestors. So, and each time we do some of those deeper dives, we're not approaching it as the same person we were when we did the first dive. We're always growing and evolving if we're committed to this journey. And so what we are uncovering is some of what we couldn't get to before. And the more that we can approach it as, oh, good, another piece to clear. I mean, you don't have to like it, you don't have to love it, but the more that we can appreciate that it's coming up at the right and perfect time, that we're strong enough to let it go. And it can be as painful as we struggle with it. Our resistance is what causes the pain.
Yeah, that's so true. I want to go into something now about you're touching on physical pain. Can you enlighten us just how a diagnosis like cancer can guide us to restore our health and align with our life purpose?
Yeah. A friend of mine who I had, talked about when I'd first gotten the cancer diagnosis, she had a very interesting take, and the way that she really looked at it as, when we can step out of the way in which cancer is framed and talked about as something that is a terrifying experience, and it certainly can be. I'm not minimizing that, but it causes us to make changes, sometimes very, very dramatic changes. It causes us, sometimes it takes something really strong in order to break through some of the resistance. So for me, I made some very specific lifestyle changes, things I had been talking about. One of these days, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start eating a lot more healthier. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to take better care of myself. Things that I was doing, but I was still kind of playing around in that area and really looking at where I was still holding on to a lot of pain, some of which I wasn't even aware of. So any diagnosis, I believe, has an emotional and metaphysical meaning to it, if you're willing to look at it that way. Because if we only look at a diagnosis strictly from a physical perspective, we're eliminating all the other aspects of ourselves, because there's so much more at play here. And so any ailment is an invitation to look at what messages is my body trying to tell myself through this particular ailment. And the fact is that before anything manifests in a physical form, it's been going on and being nourished and fed for a period of time. It's not like it's overnight where, you could take a fall and that would be something different. But for something like cancer to fester, it's been going on for a long, long time. And in my case, I could relate it back to my mother's death in 1981, and I could see the pieces that really, so it's willing to look at how can this be a gift for me? Where is this guiding me to make some of the changes, to do some of that deeper work, that maybe this was the only way I could get my attention to stop resisting, to being willing to do something different? Because I truly believe that the forms that things take, the challenges, whether it's a health issue, whether it's a financial or a relationship, it's going to take whatever form has the best chance of getting your attention. We do this to ourselves. It's not, the universe isn't sitting back and thinking, okay, so what can I do in order to create this experience so that it will get their attention? The universe supports us, but we, and our desire to master and reclaim our true selves, we participate consciously and unconsciously in setting situations up so that we can have the breakthroughs and the experiences that we have come here to experience, as well as, for many, to be guides for others who will face those very same experiences and need to be with people who understand the terrain, who understand the different things that come up. So, when you start to look at things from a broader perspective, you can see things about any situation, including a cancer diagnosis, that takes it out of just a physical ailment, a physical diagnosis, to a field of possibilities that is very, very rich in information that you can use to transform your life and restore your body to its original blueprint, and also create the space inside to receive the healing from the greatest healer of all, and that is God. There is nothing that any person can experience that is beyond God's grace to heal, and history has proved it time and time again.
If you think of all the miracles that are out there, tell us about forgiveness. What forgiveness really means and why it's so crucial, so critical for vibrant health and setting our life on fire, really.
Yeah. Forgiveness is a very, very interesting conversation that I find. So many people have probably grown up and been told to turn the other cheek and be understanding and be forgiving, and that can be experienced as a way of minimizing certain situations, or when forgiveness is being called for as it relates to somebody else, it's almost as if that person feels, I have to excuse, and whatever happened was absolutely okay. So forgiveness in its truest sense is really an act of extending mercy to another person, including yourself. It brings it into the framework of realizing that each of us is showing up at our absolute best in any given moment, and our best can change. And that we are bringing into those experiences all of our past experiences, all of the things that we've come to believe, and whatever is going on in our life at that time. And so who among us has not betrayed another, has not done something that we regret, has not always been the kindest and the most loving? And what's true is that when you think of the danger of a wounded animal, they strike and they hurt when they are wounded. And so us as people, when we are feeling wounds that we don't know how to heal, that we have never been taught how to do that. I mean, so many people, how were we really taught to forgive? How were we taught to love ourselves? Who were the demonstrations of people in our lives who really showed us how to do that? If anything, we were taught more about how to hide our feelings, be authentic, but please don't tell the truth because you don't want to upset anybody, and to be responsible for everybody else's happiness. And if you show up in a way that's uncomfortable for people, then they tell you to stop thinking that, stop feeling that, stop doing that. So we have been taught more about how to withhold these feelings, and then been told, okay, now you have to forgive. And we're not made like that. So it's really about developing a sense of compassion, to be able to look at people and situations from that broad perspective, to understand that as people are showing up, we are still responsible and accountable for how we show up. That doesn't excuse the behavior. What it does is it allows us to understand beyond the decision or the action, to see that person from a broader perspective and invite healing to come. The person that we hold the greatest amount of unforgiveness is towards ourselves, because at some level, even if we know intellectually that we did the best that we could, and we've made, we've tried our best, or the other person didn't mean that, there is some part that holds us in a superhuman perspective that we should have known, we should have foreseen this, we should have been smarter, how could we have been fooled? And we lay all of these judgments upon ourselves that place us in a situation of being unforgiving. And this is the part that needs to shift. This is what we're learning how to do, and also understanding that as long as we're in relationships, which is part of our life experience, there will be opportunities every day in order to work with forgiveness, because we still slip into judgments, we still create drama, we still react. And so those are the practice periods where we get to come back into a place of compassion, especially for ourselves. I know I'm giving you very long answers to your questions.
I actually love the comparison to the wounded animal, because the wounded animal strikes back, and
yes.
Yet we as human beings, we naturally strike back.
Yes, or we strike back at ourselves.
Very much, yeah, at ourselves, and that's very difficult to bring forgiveness to ourselves. I even find it. I've experienced that myself. But because we're keeping this rolling here, I'm going to move into my next question with you, and that is, I want you to expand on this. why is inner healing work the critical part for shifting into the 5D consciousness?
Well, there's a lot of writing out here on Facebook. There's so much commentary about the Lionsgate energies and, all of the eclipses. All of that is moving us and accelerating us much, much, much faster. So for many people, we are actually straddling several different dimensions. We're straddling 3-dimensional, 4th dimensional, 5th dimensional, and possibly even for some people, 7th dimensional. What that means is that anything that is at a level of density, and so density, when you think of the kinds of energies that are dense, it's anger, frustration, hatred, anything that is lacking compassion and acceptance and gratitude, anything that is keeping us in patterns of pain and struggle and suffering. These are denser vibrations, and not to judge them and say this is a bad thing, but we are literally, and this is what I say to people, whatever you're holding on to, whatever you're in resistance to, whatever you know about or don't know about is going to get shit kicked, and it's going to get kicked hard. So we can either start turning inside to be willing to look into those shadows, and sometimes just the awareness of something can clear it. Sometimes we have to work with it a little bit more deeply in doing some healing sessions. We have to feel certain things because that's part of the release. Some people are going to other people for activations, which is great, but it's important to know that some things may not clear completely because you have a piece in that's important for your own evolution and growth that you have to feel, understand, see before you can let it go. So we're being taught how to hold that space of feeling without our egos kicking in, to control, direct, and try to get rid of it as fast as possible so that we can hold that space to release the energy without getting stuck in the story. And we do that through doing the inner work. So, I've been doing a lot of regressions with people, watching them in these experiences go to the point of origin where some of these patterns are, and we just knock them right out. It's like a dominoes falling when that person is ready to do it. I did an incredible session with a colleague of mine who was struggling with patterns of betrayal, and in 45 minutes, with some of the work she had done before, it totally cleared. It was amazing to watch how fast and ready she was to clear it. Yeah. And it is not returned. And it was related to her mother, and it was something that she'd been struggling with for a long time. And she said to me afterwards, I feel as if there's a part of my soul that has been healed. I was crying. It was just a beautiful experience. So it's having that willingness to understand that the inner healing work is a pathway to be able to release some of these energies that we can't release any other way, and to be working with people who have the skills to help navigate that, because there are times when we can't self-facilitate and get to the heart of things at the same time, because we can get in our way better than anybody. So it's knowing when we need help and getting it. That's the smart and loving thing to do.
Knowing when we need help and going for it. Yeah.
Yes.
And in fact, this whole interview now, we do love to experience powerful processes that heal our hearts.
Yes.
So this whole interview, you're giving so much here, Lorraine. I would like just to finish up with, can you give us a quick experience?
Yes, and I also had a prompting before we came on to finish with a prayer from Debbie Ford, so I would love to do that. So I'm going to offer two questions that lend itself to forgiveness. So I invite you and everybody to just think of something that you are harboring some resentment towards yourself, it could be a decision, something that you've done, something that has a charge to it. Could be money related. And if nothing comes right now, then you can always return to this video and work with these questions. So I always tend to pick a money question because it kicks So many issues for a lot of people who have made decisions, who might be struggling financially, have made some choices that they may feel have put them in a position of hardship or debt. So here's a question to consider. What if this situation that you are dealing with right now was designed beautifully to bring you closer to your spirit, to your divinity? And what if this was a process, an experience that was orchestrated because it had the best chance of breaking through your barriers and your armor so that you could have that connection that you have been craving? If that were true, could you forgive yourself? And here's another question. And this is for people who feel that they have a purpose, perhaps as being soul guides and light workers. What if you came into this life with this experience or experiences like it predestined so that you could navigate this in a way that would allow you to be of the greatest service to others who would be going through that same terrain and would need your help in order to walk through it with grace? And in order for you to be that guide, you would have to have a personal experience in order to show up for them in the way that they need, especially at this time. If that were true, could you forgive yourself? And if all of those questions had some truth for you, what would you be thinking and saying to yourself that might be filled with greater love and compassion than the way in which you may think and speak to yourself? How would your language and perhaps your own self-care change if you saw things from that perspective and looked at yourself through the eyes of God? What then might be different?
I love those questions.
I have several more, but those are two that I felt guided to, because, the first time that I even asked myself those questions, I felt my hand come down, and I felt a greater peace, and I felt more compassion and understanding, and reminded that there are no mistakes, that everything serves us to be the person that we have come into this life to be, and that everything counts and everything matters. And so while I still have some charges about some of my decisions, I come back to these questions, realizing that there's a greater purpose here, and it's an invitation to foster deeper self-love.
Yeah. One other thing I'll say is we can get very resentful towards our own self-love.
Yes.
The more we do it, I think the more we peel back, the more resentful we become, and we reject our own relationship with ourselves.
Yes, and that is the shift that needs to happen, is realizing that as long as we stay in that space of judgment and blame, then we cannot love ourselves. And we're also blocking our connection to our spirit because we are not allowing ourselves to see the bigger picture. And the purpose of our experiences offer us opportunities to see the contrast. If you never felt hate, you couldn't know love. If you never felt wounded, you couldn't understand healing. If you didn't feel judgment, you couldn't understand compassion. So these are the opportunities that present us those shifts if we are open to them, or we can resist them. And again, here we are with shifts in consciousness. That stuff is going to kick really, really hard in our face. That's going to push us to let go of some of these patterns because we need to be free in order to move forward.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. I can really feel my energy moving as we're speaking. But
Yeah,
you do have a special gift.
I do. I do.
Us, what that is.
This is something that is new that I'm excited to offer, and that is because of my passion of helping people to feel healthy in every possible way, including physically. I'm offering a 20-minute session with me to what I'm calling a stay well and a get well and stay well session, to look at anything physically that people are dealing with. And I'll help you find the number one blind spot that is getting in the way of you being able to feel healthy and strong and vital and opening to the life of prosperity and happiness and joy. So that's my invitation. I hope people will take advantage of that. And then there is a second gift of an audio that is making drama delicious, that I think fits in quite well with what we're talking about today. It's an invitation to look at drama from a different perspective so that you can work with it to help you to become free from some of these reactive patterns and really use your power in a way that helps you to move forward.
Lovely. And where can people find you?
If you go to Lorraine, Lorraine, Cohen, Cohen.com, and take a look around. Lots of things going on, and I'd love to hear what people's comments are from this recording, or rather from this video. I always welcome when people have shifts, so please share with me what your experience is. And can I end with a prayer?
Yes.
Do we have time for that? Okay.
Yeah,
was there something else that you wanted to ask me or say?
No, basically that's it. Just for everyone else listening, watch your inbox tomorrow for more information. I'll just throw that in now, and then we'll end with a prayer and finish.
Wonderful. Well, I felt really guided to end this with this prayer. So it's by Debbie Ford. So I just invite everybody to just close their eyes and just let the energy wash over you. Dear God, Goddess, creator of all that is, today I close my eyes and invite into my conscious awareness all the holy parts of myself that have been hidden from my sight. I affirm that it's safe to open up to my deeply spiritual essence, to discover the divine thread that connects me to everyone else, seen and unseen on the planet. I proclaim that it is safe for me to come face to face with my greatness, my gifts, my spiritual vastness, my holiness. Today, God, grant me the courage to stand without apology in the presence of all my greatness. Give me the insights to reclaim the light that I've attributed to or projected onto others. Allow me to open up and see what's possible for humankind when I stand fully in the presence of my holiness. Support me, please, in being present to the importance of my own holy light. Wash away anything that's between me and that divine thread, my divine essence. Allow me to be humble enough to know that I have nothing to do with how divine I am. Today, dear God, allow all the light that I've transferred out into the world to people I know and to people I don't know, to people who are alive and people who have passed, to return back to me. Bring all that light right now back into me. Let me open my arms, my heart, to the uniqueness of my humanity and the magnificence of my divinity. Let me know the divine as myself. And so it is, and it is so. Amen.
Beautiful. Lorraine, on that, I will say thank you very much.
Pleasure, thank you.
I'm feeling very reverent at the moment. It's not just, it's washed over me. It's beautiful. I'm feeling
yes.
So
thank you.
Nearly like I don't want to stop talking to you. It's amazing. But thank you very much, and thank you everybody for listening. And again, watch your inbox tomorrow. And I say goodbye for now.
God bless.